Good morning. It's raining outside, and I just came in out of the rain. Today is Friday the 13th, the day after everything shut down in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and we're in for the long haul. I still have my daughter's dog Jamie, but Delia's coming over to get her pretty soon. I've been thinking a lot about how the books that I read when I was a girl have shaped the aspirations that I have for being a legislator and a community leader. My name is Adrienne Redd, and I'm running for state representative in the 154th Legislative District, and that's Jenkintown, Springfield, and Cheltenham. One of the books that I read when I was a little girl, book series, was the entire Little House books, the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, which start with Little House in the Big Woods and Little House on the Prairie, which had a fairly awful TV show made from it sometime in the 70s, I guess. But the books were about wasting nothing and having a sense of where all the resources in your household come in from and where they go to. And that sense of economy and frugality was intensely appealing to me when I was a kid. Interestingly enough, the word eco in ecology means house. And so there's the house of the world, there's a house of a food web, but there's also your own house where resources come in and secondary products, we used to say in the recycling program in Bethlehem, or waste products go out, but how can they be wasted less? And that's really shaped my life. That and the fact that my parents were alive during World War II, so my father walked around with a little red wagon and picked up scrap metal and rubber because those things were short during the war. And the fact that all of the food scraps that were left from meal preparation all went into a compost pile when I was a kid. And a piece of fabric from a sewing project of my mother's would go into a basket of fabric scraps and get made into quilts. A quilt is a way of recycling fabric that's too small to make a whole big new bed cover. So that's really like a lifestyle thing with me. But it's also really important for us to think about what things really cost. Somebody asked me, I was at the Abington Friends School Environmental Action Club, and one of the students asked me, would you ban plastic bags? And I said, no, I wouldn't ban plastic bags. And you want to get down, Jamie? There you go. She just had a bath last night, and she's real rammy. Rammy Jammy. I wouldn't ban plastic bags because I think it's really important for us to pay attention to what things really cost. And I also think people don't like it when you just make a harsh mandate and say, well, from now on, you're not allowed to have plastic bags. Instead, I would stop and I'd pay attention to what plastic bags really cost. This is this idea of externalities that you'll hear me bring up again and again. That if it's cheap for somebody to manufacture a plastic bag and cheap for somebody to use it, they don't really have a sense of the way in which that creating of a single-use plastic pushes destruction of resources and filling up of landfills and so forth out into the world. That's what I mean when I say externalities. It's an outer cost that isn't factored in the cost of the uptick in your groceries because of those plastic bags most people use. Instead, what I would do is I would ask grocery store chains to think about what does a single bag cost. Craft paper bags, the brown paper bags, which are, they have to be a kind of virgin paper so they have long fibers so that they're strong, are really quite expensive. They, even when you have them in the store, they may cost 10 or 15 cents a piece, but we don't pay that. You know, if we bring our own bag at a grocery store, often we get a nickel back or something. What if the resources that we used really cost us what those resources cost? What if you went to the grocery store and you could bring your own bag if you wanted to? Or if you wanted to use the plastic or craft paper bags that they had, you paid for those. Then you would be free to modify your own behavior. And I think that's an important thing to say, that people want to be free to modify their own behavior, but they need to have signals that help them to understand what a thing really costs in the world. There's so many examples of these. And I think it's also really important to say that it serves the purposes of huge corporations to have us think that ecological preservation is all about little micro changes on our parts. In fact, if we simply caused things to cost what they really cost, we would make those changes not because we were trying to do virtue signaling, but because now we were behaving economically rationally. So I think those are some important things to think about. How do we give people a variety of choices in, she wants to play with me now. Come on. And we let them make their own economic choices. You know, you're ready to go outside and play pretty soon. So I hope that you consider giving me a vote on April 28th, and that we can have lots more conversations about these things, because I'm really interested in knowing what you think. Thanks.